Do you hear as well? Yeah? It's good? Yeah, nice.
Do you hear me? Okay. So good afternoon. We are Lina and Diego. We are both professors at Los Andes University in Colombia. Before reaching the academy, Diego used to be a strategic design consultant for Mormedi. Right now, I am a design lead for a youth insurance company in Colombia. And to help you a bit, here we are. This picture was from our last semester course at Los Andes University, where we were collaborating with Avianca Airlines using the model that we're going to introduce you today, which is meant to be scaling up service design within companies in Colombia. Oh. But we would like to know...
How many of you have been in Colombia? Okay, around 10? Okay, that's great.
You are
more than welcome to come. On Sunday we are leaving, so if you want to come with us, it's perfect.
So first of all, we believe it's really important to give you some context about the country, because we believe that if we define and if we show you which cultural facts and challenges probably many countries of Latin America have the same challenges, we will understand how we are dealing with service design practice in our region. So probably you have heard not so good things about Colombia, or you have watched TV or Netflix series, yeah, Narcos. And most of you believe that that is our reality. During the lunch time, someone asked if, is it dangerous? It is the same in Medellin, and the answer is no. It's not like that anymore. We are 30 years apart from that reality, and we are here today to show you some real facts of our current state of the country. So let's start. For the ones who don't know, Colombia is in the northern part of South America. Our location in the globe makes us an extremely rich country, speaking about biodiversity and natural resources. But we found out that Colombia, it's more about its people, about its culture. If you have been to Colombia, the one who have been there can tell that Colombians are really festive. The culture is really colorful, and at the same time, it's kind of incoherent and surreal.
And exactly, this is what we want to talk in our first episode. It's called Magic Realism, and this is not defined by us. It's actually a slogan by Colombia, and it's coming from Gabriel Garcia Marquez, that is the Nobel Prize writer from Colombia. And with this denomination, we will start our first episode. So this is a sentence, a phrase that Gabriel Garcia Marquez had about Colombia, and he defined life as a continuous succession of opportunities to survive. We decided to steal his sentence, and we redefine it with service design. So we think that service design is a continuous succession of opportunities to create value, especially in our context in Colombia. So we have 50 million people, 9 million people living in the capital city, Bogota, and the rest are spread in rural and urban areas, smaller cities, but Bogota is the capital city at the center of the country. We have a service sector that is 64.2% of the economy, which is quite big related to other countries in South America. And we see here a big opportunity, a huge room to create a real impact. Unfortunately, on the other hand, in Colombia, less than 1% of the GDP is invested in innovation, which we hope that this will grow in the following years. Colombia is not considered a low-income country anymore, but still 27% of the population live in poverty. So it's quite a big statement. And if you earn more or at least 1,700 euros per month, you are within the 1% richest of the population. So you can imagine how this reality looks like. And we want to emphasize this with 3 factors to understand better the context. We see social inequality, so we have high classes with tons of money and then people trying to survive daily. We have limited support from the government. They create policies that they are even taking advantages themselves, and the policies are created within a top-down perspective, which doesn't fit with the real needs and the real desires of the whole population. And above all, we have a huge informal economy. 47% of the jobs in Colombia are informal. So you can imagine how this affects the economy.
So with this context, we have identified like 4 aspects that influence service design practice in Colombia. These are cultural aspects. So the first one is distrust, which basically means that people don't trust each other, and you're always aware in streets like, he's going to do something to me. I don't know why, because it's not like that. There's also hierarchy, which means culturally Colombians find really difficult to say no to people, to say no to anything. So if you want a Colombian to do you a favor, they will say yes. Always yes.
Don't tell us that.
Yeah. Okay, Diego is from Spain, and he told me that all the time, like, why you don't say no? The other thing is conformism, which means Colombians don't challenge the status quo, and they get used to live the same way, just like that, because I don't think like it could be better. But we have also 2 positive aspects, which are the service attitude and friendliness and good vibes, which, as I mentioned before, are really rooted to this festive and really warm being of Colombians. So, as you may know, implementing a service needs like 2 parts. The first one would be like this cultural things, but the other one means having clear processes, strong networks, and probably clear goals also. And here in Colombia, we have found out that we have the attitude, but we are missing those processes and protocols. So that's why we found that service design was a great tool in Colombia.
And why? Why service design is a great tool to apply in Colombia? Well, first, because service design can help with the equality, right? So we can design for a low-income community in a rural area, or we can design for a corporate in, for example, in our case, for Avianca. So service design, it's flexible to design for everyone and to treat everyone at the same level. Secondly, we can help with service design to formalize our economy. As we mentioned, we have this big problem, and especially in fintech, because with the informal economy, we find people selling snacks at the traffic lights, repairing bikes in the streets. So how can we help these people to be a formal business? We can help them to design the services, but even we can help them to shape their business model through service design. So that's one of the points that we need to work on. Maximize the daily efficiency. We have talked, Lynn and me, a lot about it. And we wait a lot of queues in Colombia, and who has been there probably can tell it. So maximize our daily efficiency. It's about the protocols again. We need to deliver services that use the attitude of Colombians, but with the right protocols. And then we will be able to deliver real value. And finally, we need to create a trust economy. That's really important. So if we don't trust each other, and even more nowadays with the sharing economy, how can we cohabit with this society if we don't create these trust points that will lead to value. So we understood this from our analysis, but we would like to give you a broader perspective. And this broader perspective is in an ecosystem level. In ecosystem level, we found out that the service design ecosystem in Colombia is like a jungle. And it's not positive nor negative. We see this ecosystem as a team of players that are trying to survive in a context. Probably there are unexplored places, there are beautiful rivers, and these players are trying to survive by themselves. So as you can see here, the players are corporates, are academia, we are part of that, are startups, are agencies, and they are all disconnected. So how can we help with this to organize our own jungle? Our goal, we defined it to reach or to bridge this gap between the different players. Of course, we are in the academia side, so we decided to start from this side. And as corporates could be the natural partner for us, we decided to analyze this connection, academia and corporates. Why are we disconnected in our context? We saw different factors, but mainly we saw that there are two approaches completely different. Academia is thinking about research, is thinking about theoretical, about theory, is thinking about ideal scenarios, while corporates are thinking about business value, real application, and expertise. So if we can bring those players closer to try to interact, to create a ground to get this sense of partnership will be great. And then we create this vision for service design that uncovers the value. Service design, we think, that uncovers the value in an understandable language to connect players in a win-win relationship. So we have the whole ecosystem. If we can apply service design to connect these players, we will generate, we think, a revolution. So we define service design as a connector with three main aspects. Firstly, to understand user needs and company needs. Then creating this ground to interact between the players, and then piloting and measure business opportunities. So trying to merge not only the user part, but we're including the business aspect.
So, understanding this, we knew that we need to figure out how to coordinate these service design steps so that we can bridge those gaps that Diego mentioned. And to show you in which case we used this model, our model, I'm going to talk about Avianca. Avianca is one of the oldest airlines in the world, with 100 years old. It is the market leader airline in Latin America. And in 2015, Avianca was in a really bad crisis. And it was an inflection point in which they decided to change the CEO. So they hired Hernán Rincón, who was former CEO for Windows in Latin America. And he wanted to revolutionize and change a lot of aspects of innovation culture within the company. So he wanted Avianca to become a digital company, and they started looking for other players in this ecosystem to help them to reach this goal. So we had a match.
Do you recognize that feeling? I do.
So, why do we have this match? Because basically what they were looking for was what we could offer in that natural context. They were looking for a user-centric vision, and we could give this user-centric approach by methodologies, by collaboration in different courses. And they also wanted to spread the culture within different departments in the company. And we had this experience doing that with other courses in our university, and at the same time, having this new and fresh look of younger students could create value for them too.
So we start collaborating, we start dating with them, with Avianca, and we have one option that was to make it through pilot. This was our decision. And we created these different steps to really understand what was the pilot about. So firstly, as we mentioned, for us it's really important to understand the context, right? So we have the social context values, how people behave in Colombia. Then we have the company values, in this case Avianca. What's the way of doing things in the company? And then we need to define the objective of the pilot. And in this case, could be just create solutions, could be learn methods, could be trying to shape some aspects of the culture of the company. And so if we added these three factors, we will be ready to plan our pilot. And based on that, we create our model, the model that we are using currently with Avianca. This model had three stages: the seed, the grow, and the spread. We're currently at the second phase. And the first phase, the seed stage, was key, because we need to be able to educate Avianca. Even if they were interested, we need to show the value of applying service design in such a corporate. We did it for 6 months, and it was more solution-driven, and it was quite successful. And we had 27 students with our supervision working for Avianca to have minimum viable services in the end-to-end experience, from check-in to the luggage
claim.
So that was the first stage. We then passed to the growth stage. In this case, we learned from the previous one, and we shape it in a different way. We will see in a moment. But here, the objective was different. Was decide which key employees from Avianca were first able to understand design principles, and secondly, able to collaborate with a design team to first learn the process, and secondly, create new solutions for the challenges that they presented. And the third stage will be spread. Here we envision a more flexible collaboration, same employees and students, and trying to create these practices, embed these practices in their daily problem setting and problem solving. So as we see in our approach, the first one was focusing on solutions, the second one was focusing on methods, and the third one on culture.
So in our seed stage, we have found some pros, but also some cons. So basically, what we have, good things are that Avianca or any company is getting like inspiring ideas. They are having this also piloted in real, quickly periods of time. And on the other hand, for the students, they are getting this early experience as service designers, because in Colombia it's really difficult to find a job as a service designer. There's only like 2 or 3 agencies. One is here, who is like, I think, the principal company. And we have the cons, which were that employees are not acquiring the knowledge that they need to replicate that within the company, because this collaboration only involves those employees in some stages of the course. And what is the worst thing is that we didn't have any project owner in the company to lead the implementation, and at the end we wanted to be implemented. So that's one of the things that we rearranged for the next stage. This is the scheme that we were using. There were like the students around with the professors, who were both of us, and we were collaborating across the innovation team in Avianca. Some of the outcomes of this process were different initiatives for all the customer journey moments. Some of them were the complaining booth that was located in the waiting areas, the color coding boarding, because as we have those like colorful and cheerful aspects of our own culture, Colombians are, in
Messy.
words of Avianca, like cows when they call for the boarding, because everyone goes to the queue and they don't respect the group of boarding. And then there was an interesting one, which was loyalty program, which tried to give the benefits to the luggage, not to the passenger.
So, as Lina mentioned, we learned from our first stage, and in our growth stage, we identified that the key employees of Avianca were collaborating well with the design teams. In this case, we are talking about master students. And also, they were able to learn the different methods. On the other hand, we also, we saw that the solutions that they could deliver were not as detailed as the previous stage, because our students from the bachelor, they have been trained for 4 years to apply design thinking in every stage, standardizing the process. But we see here that with key employees and master students that are coming from different disciplines, not design, it's more difficult to get the same level of detail that we got in the previous stage. And apart from that, we decided with the Avianca innovation team which employees were coming to our program, and they defined the directors. And we thought, well, that could be great to have the directors. But then, after talking to them, we realized that they were not the right people, because they are so busy and they were not the owners of the project. So for the next edition, that will be the spread edition or even a repetition of the grow edition, we will need to scale down and trying to get as many coordinators as possible, not the directors, because they are not the right stakeholders to make these initiatives happen. So this is the scheme, as we mentioned before. We have, in every squad, we divided in squads, and in every squad we have a key employee of Avianca, and he or she is responsible to bring the value that is learning in the course to their own departments. So in this case, we can create a flow of knowledge from the university to the company and then spread it in the company. Here are some of the examples during the sessions. In December, we will deliver the final results of this phase, and probably we will present 2 vice presidents, which is quite a big achievement. And yeah, to sum up, what we've been talking today. Our epilogue, it's called peacefulness, and this is actually the moment of peacefulness in Colombia, but also we wanted to bring it to the service design ecosystem and to our vision. We started with the first step, connecting academia with corporates. That's just the first step. We have agencies, we have government, we have startups, creative communities, and we need to focus on the triangle between, or we would like to focus on the triangle between corporates, academia, and agencies. We don't have the right formula yet, but we invite you all to try to solve this formula together, try to see which roles can we have together, how can we collaborate, and how can we create or leverage the power, the potential of service design within these networks. To sum up, we have been talking about culture and how culture, understand the culture, it's key in our process. We have been talking about piloting with stakeholders and how important is that. And finally, we really need to strengthen the service design ecosystem, taking into account the core triangle, but also bringing into this ecosystem different stakeholders that can add and can keep service design alive and relevant. Thank you very much.
Thank you.